Pat Mahomes.
Bust. What would you have said if I bet you $100 at the end of the round robin and start of the playoffs that the Stars would be in the Stanley Cup playoffs or Stanley Cup finals?
I don't know.
Because Bomb.
That was their best player.
So how do y'all feel about this?
Very impressed with how bad they're doing.
Donovan Mitchell, who right now looks to be a superstar.
Yeah, and as a Cowboys fan, I have learned how dangerously good Aaron Rodgers has been with he can just thread a pass.
A lot worse than I thought. So, what do you think is going to happen in the game tonight, Kevin?
I don't know what to think.
They've won a game by 2 points, 3 points, and 1 point.
A very high number.
Aaron Rodgers is Aaron Rodgers, and that's all I have to say. He's still a top 5 quarterback in this league, and there's nothing really anyone can do about it.
Before the season started, traded for Mookie Betts. What do you think about that trade, Austin?
If he can step up, that'll really help the Lakers in the future.
Just amazing, and I don't care what the Red Sox got for trading Mookie Betts and David Price. The Dodgers, in my opinion, win it. I don't have to see what players they gave up.
I think we should move on to the Yankees, But after that, everything just fell apart.
Hey guys, welcome back to the 12th episode of Outsiders Opinions. We have recorded over 10 videos, so let us know what your favorite video has been so far in the comments. If you are listening on Spotify, go to our YouTube channel, which is under the same name, Outsiders Opinions, and drop your thoughts in the comments. In our last episode, we talked about the NBA Finals and what we thought of LeBron's 4th championship. It's been a busy week for some NFL teams, so Austin and I will be talking about several key injuries and one big addition for the already dangerous Kansas City offense. Let's start with that terrible injury for Dak Prescott, who I think would have made a lot of money. I think he still will, just not the amount of money he was going to make before his injury. What do you think, Austin?
Yeah, it's going to be tough for Dak to make the same type of money that he was going to before. I'm intrigued to see how their offense does. Dak led the league in passing yards in his before his absence, and their offense was third in the league behind only Seattle and Green Bay. But with the 32nd ranked defense, it makes it very difficult for them to consistently win games, which has been proven with their 2-3 record. But yeah, it's tough. You never like to see anyone, even the teams you hate, have someone like Dak have an injury like that. But it's part of football.
Yeah, and I think Dak will bounce back, and I think someone will pay him. I hope the Cowboys pay him, but I'm not sure. But if he's still pretty young, and I think if he gets a deal for 2 to 3 years, and he bounces back, he could still make a lot of money. Like, this isn't a career-ending injury, and I think the quarterback market's going to reset after Josh Allen, and Dak could capitalize on that. So I hope for a speedy recovery, and hopefully he stays a Dallas Cowboy. But let's, even though it's a terrible injury, this looks like a great situation for Andy Dalton because the Cowboys have one of the best wide receiving core, if not the best. I think you have 2 established number 1 wide receivers in Amari Cooper and Michael Gallup, and I think you have an emerging star in CeeDee Lamb. What do you think about their wide receiving core, Austin?
Their wide receiving core is one of the best in the league. I think that's what's contributed to the amount of yards that Dak threw and the vitality of their offense. It'll definitely help Andy Dalton, who's never really had 2 elite wide receivers. And I think it's almost time to put Gallup in that tier after the amazing catch that he had against the Giants. He's been very consistent, and it's impressive to see what he puts up. CeeDee Lamb, I think, is a year or 2 away from being one of the best wide receivers in the league, but he's proven that even though he's been with this team for only a few weeks of playing NFL football, he's a special talent that the Cowboys made the right choice in picking him. The key for the Cowboys to make the playoffs, though, is not on Andy Dalton's shoulders. It is purely on the defense. I think that Andy Dalton can still will this team to score 25 points per game, which should be good enough for a lot of defenses, but apparently for the Cowboys, who are giving up a ton of points per game, it's tough. What do you think about the Cowboys defense, Kevin?
They're just so bad. And I know a lot of people going in the season, oh, we're going to be so good. I think it's key, though, to remember you lost Byron Jones. Not arguably, he was the best cornerback for the Dallas Cowboys last year. And you lost, I believe, your second best pass rusher, but I think he had the most sacks for the team, Robert Quinn, as he went to the Chicago Bears. While I wish they could have kept him, they realistically can't because of all the money they put in their offense. You give Amari Cooper a top 5 money in his top 5 wide receivers, so that's a lot of money. Then you, in my opinion, overpay for a running back. I don't think you ever have to pay for a running back in Ezekiel Elliott. You pay Zach Martin, which I think is worth it, but you just have to know you are paying a ton of money towards the offense. This is what you're going to get on defense. And I think they can still win the division, but I think you're going to have to see the offense change. It's not only because Andy Dalton is now the quarterback. He's not Dak Prescott. He is still a great quarterback, or he's a good quarterback. I think you're just going to have to run on the ball. And I think the Cowboys can do it, especially with Ezekiel Elliott. He's a good running back. But even you could pound the ball with Ezekiel Elliott and give him a breather, and I don't think you will have a significant drop-off when you put Tony Pollard in. What do you think about Tony Pollard and Zeke, Austin?
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting dilemma. You're paying Zeke to run the ball, and I think that's why they're running him more than Tony Pollard. Tony Pollard's also had some mental lapses, but I think that he'll be a quality player in the NFL. Their offense, I think, is good enough. I've stated this before, but their defense has given up 36 points per game. That's unacceptable. Unacceptable. In the 2 games that they've won, they've scored 37 and 40. And the only reason why I believe they won those games is because they outscored their average points given up, 36. And when that happens, I mean, when you give up 36 points per game, you give your offense no time to learn the defense, to see where they need to attack, to find out where their weaknesses are. Your offense has to be almost perfect. And when Dak Prescott as your quarterback, he can make up for those errors on your defense when you have them, those mental lapses on some occasions, and that's why they're 2-3. The difficulty with Andy Dalton is if their defense does not pick up, I don't know if he can score enough points to get by the 36 points per game given up. When you give up 34 points to a Giants team that did not score a touchdown since week 1 and was struggling on all facets of the ball, it's a lot of doom and gloom. It just shows how porous the defense really is and how many issues that the coaching staff needs to address before they just throw Andy Dalton into the fire where he needs to score 40 points for them to actually win a game.
Yeah, and to mention about that Giants offense, the Giants offense didn't have Saquon, and they didn't have Sterling Shepard. So if I told you, it's unacceptable. They're without their best offensive player and probably their best wide receiver. And I think this is just going to be, the Cowboys are going to have to be like 2014 Dallas Cowboys, where you saw them run the ball, which gives easy looks. It will give an easy look to Andy Dalton, and the wide receivers are going to make catches. And we saw when Dak exited the Giants game, the Cowboys were losing that game. And we saw Andy Dalton throw a nice pass to Michael Gallup. I would say Michael Gallup made up if there are any bad throws for Dalton, but Michael Gallup made that play. So I think you have Michael Gallup, Amari Cooper, and I think you have a mismatch with CD. I agree. CD he's going to be much better down the road, but he's in an excellent position in the slot, especially when the defenses have to worry about Amari Cooper and Michael Gallup. And you're just going to have to take up the time of possession to keep the other offenses on the sidelines. And if you get in a shootout, I don't know if I trust Andy Dalton, like you said, Austin. But how about we talk about after the season? I believe Andy Dalton's on a 1-year contract. And if he plays well this year, he could make a massive payday. What do you think about that, Austin?
That's true. I mean, we've seen that previously with Nick Foles and Teddy Bridgewater, these players who've been starters before, both were Pro Bowlers before their time as backups, just like Andy Dalton. And they either got injured or they weren't performing as good as the starters on their team. And when their starters went down, they got the opportunity and really excelled. Both got got hefty contracts, and that are signed for multiple seasons. And currently, both are starters in the NFL. I could definitely see Andy Dalton being catapulted into the top echelon of free agent quarterbacks this season if he performs. And I don't think he comes back to Dallas if that's the case. Um, it'll be interesting to see how he reacts to the pressure that he's on. And I think this is one of his last opportunities to show the entire league and really the world that he is a star quarterback in this league. That someone that needs to be paid as a consistent starter after the Bengals gave up on him for Joe Burrow.
Yeah, and I think it's important to say that the Cowboys made, I think, a great coaching switch from Jason Garrett to Mike McCarthy, as Mike McCarthy is experienced. And I think the big difference between this coaching staff and the coaching staff from Jason Garrett is Mike McCarthy has already shown he can make changes within the game. And the thing that points directly to me is Jason Garrett in the Chaz Green game, where Adrian Claiborne sacked Dak Prescott 5 times. And I think it was like 3 times in the first half. I'm not sure about the number, but Jason Garrett did not make a change even after Chaz Green. We could all tell Chaz Green was not the answer. But in the Seattle game, where Terrence Steele was getting consistently beat, we saw Mike McCarthy move Joe Looney from center to right guard, Tyler Baidez at center, and then Zach Martin at right tackle. And you saw how that helped their offense. So I think it's important to know that the Cowboys are in a much better situation because, number one, you have a head coach and his staff is experienced. You, I believe, have Jim Tomsula as the defensive line coach. You have Mike Nolan, who has been a head coach. I'm not sure about his record, but he's experienced, and Mike McCarthy has won the Super Bowl. And the Cowboys, we mentioned Andy Dalton. In the previous years, Dak Prescott has been the starter. His backup has been either Cooper Rush or now the offensive coordinator for the Dallas Cowboys, Kellen Moore. So I think the Cowboys are already in a much better position with Andy Dalton at quarterback over Cooper Rush and the offensive coordinator for the Dallas Cowboys. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, he is an improvement over Cooper Rush, and I think that's why they brought him in just in case this happened. What the coaching staff needs to realize, though, is you can't run the quarterback as much as they're trying to run Dak, and Dak's having to do too much on the offensive end. His O-line is obviously not as good as it has been in previous seasons, and that's really affected how much he's had to run the ball and move out of the pocket to try to make extra plays and extra yards. But he wouldn't have to be under that pressure if he just put up 30 and his defense would just hold the other team to 24 or something like that. It's tough when he knows that he needs to put up a ton of points or his team's going to lose every game. Yeah, it's just hard to see. I think we should move on to the signing of the week. So the Kansas City signed Le'Veon Bell, as we all know. After the Bills and Dolphins were interested in him, he decided to move to a team that he thought had the best chance of giving him a ring, and in Kansas City, and he joins a very crowded backfield that already has Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Darrell Williams. What do you think about that signing?
Yeah, and to go back, you mentioned the Bills and the Dolphins. I didn't really understand. I understand that Le'Veon Bell's he's a good running back. I believe, I'm a firm believer that the locker room matters in the NFL, and Le'Veon Bell has a personality, and I think it could have been super detrimental. I'm not sure it would be as detrimental to the Bills as it would be to the Dolphins. As we have talked about Brian Flores, I think he can be an excellent head coach, but he is trying to change the culture for the Dolphins. And this is only his second year, and I'm not sure he has established that culture yet. So I think bringing Le'Veon Bell, who can cause disruptions in the locker room, would put a heavy burden on Brian Flores. And I just don't really understand it because I think the Dolphins are about 2 to 3 years away from being a contender. And I think if you were going to sign uh, Le'Veon Bell, he would be a You are saying we are contending for this year. So I'm curious what you think about that, Austin.
Yeah, I mean, he is definitely a locker room presence. I believe that's why he sat out when the Steelers were not from the exact monetary value that he thought he was worth. He's an interesting character, but obviously he's a great running back when he's on point and is focused. That's the thing with Le'Veon is he has to be focused and willing to do what is necessary for him to win games, get yards, and get touchdowns. But I mean, I struggle to see what Le'Veon's role is going to be. The the Chiefs don't run the ball all too much, and it'll be interesting to see how the Kansas City decides to use him. If he's going to be a pass catching back, which I don't even believe that he's the best pass catching back on the team. And I mean, the Chiefs are a very, very fast team, but Le'Veon plays slow. They've lost some pieces on their offensive line. I don't know if Le'Veon can be the player that a lot of Kansas City Chiefs fans expect him to be. I think his Steelers days are behind him, and that the best Le'Veon Bell it has been left in the dust. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I would agree. Le'Veon Bell is 28, and as a running back, that's the twilight years of his prime. I just don't. I think your number one running back right now is Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I think the thing that Le'Veon Bell is, I don't think the Chiefs would trade for him. It's just he was a free agent, and the Chiefs signed him. And I think it's the best case scenario for both teams because Le'Veon Bell adds another wrinkle to an already explosive offense. So I'll give you a situation. We saw Le'Veon Bell in Pittsburgh. He would sometimes be a wide receiver or line up as a wide receiver. And I think that's what we're going to see a lot from the Chiefs when they use Le'Veon Bell. Just because if a team somehow covers Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill, Le'Veon Bell could possibly get a mismatch. And I think you also have Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I think you could put him in the backfield. So I think that just offers another piece for Andy Reid to play with, and it's gonna just be another. It adds to the nightmare the Chiefs already are for a defensive coordinator because we saw them lose to the Raiders. While they did make mistakes, imagine Le'Veon Bell and the defense coordinator for the Raiders trying to account for Le'Veon Bell, and you have Patrick Mahomes. It just increases the nightmare as he's another piece they can see or they can use and scare defenses.
Yeah, I agree. But it's only another threat if Le'Veon can get back to his former self. If he's his Jets, Le'Veon Bell, I don't know if teams necessarily need to worry about him more than Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who's been on and off as a player as a rookie this season. But I mean, while Le'Veon Bell definitely has a lot of history as being one of the better running backs in the league, he needs to prove it. And I don't feel like a lot of teams give him the respect that he thinks he deserves because of how inconsistent he was with the Jets.
Yeah, I would agree. If but it's I think they didn't sign him to a huge deal, so if it doesn't go well, it doesn't go well. But the potential for it to go incredibly well, just I think would bring this offense, which is already at an incredible height, to another height. Um, I think you're looking for a in between Le'Veon Bell from Pittsburgh and the Jets, like a happy medium. I would think. Do you agree, Austin, or do you think he has to be closer to that Pittsburgh for the Chiefs signing to be excellent?
Yeah, I believe that he has to be a good bit better than what he was with the Jets. With the Jets, he was not looking like the Le'Veon Bell that a lot of people expected him to be, and it really looked like he was lost on their offense. And I don't know if that's the blame on Adam Gase or Le'Veon Bell or the offensive line or Sam Darnold or their fullback or whatever, but something was off. And if that Le'Veon Bell shows up in Kansas City, the Chiefs, I don't think, gain anything besides the money they've lost.
Yeah, I would agree. I think this concludes the first of our NFL episodes this weekend. Oh, by the way, bless you, Austin.
Thank you.
No problem. All right. So thank you for joining us for our 12th episode. We will be dropping another NFL episode after this one where we rank all of the NFL teams. Also, wish we did more episodes on the NFL like this, or do other episodes on several different leagues like the NBA, MLB, and you want some more NHL episodes? Let us know in the comments. Also, be on the lookout for more episodes from Outsiders Opinions.